Hey, welcome back to Fly Tying with Jim Misiura. Today I want to do a review of a book, and I'm also going to tie one of the patterns that are in it. And this book is Fly Tying for Everyone. This is written by Cammisa. He is another Pennsylvania guy. You see him at a lot of the shows, probably at all of the shows, but he's a good tyer, he's a good teacher. The book itself, it only has 12 patterns in it, but this book is not it is not a pattern book. This book, reading this book and following it, it's going to help you, it's going to push your skills to another level. There's 13 flies in here, and he gives you, there's very well illustrated. Each pattern as he's going has probably a dozen pictures or more as you're tying the fly to follow by. But this book is great for beginners because of the fact that he goes in depth with all of the tools. You get pictures of them. Starts out with a vise, different vices. He explains them. Bobbins, scissors, the whip finish, the head cement, the hackle pliers, and a couple other tools. Like, for instance, there is a magnetic bingo wand, and which is a really good one. I like that one myself. It's a bingo wand. It's just a magnet on a handle, and it's very good if you drop hooks or anything. Like, especially, I have a carpet at my feet, and get the hook in there with that bingo wand, I'll be able to just pick my hook right up without worrying. He shows you how to the advantages of having a coffee grinder, UV cure, and then he goes into the hooks, hackles, materials, and whether you're a beginner just starting or you're a seasoned tyer, I'm sure you'll find something good in here that will benefit everyone. Whether it's the tying or the suggestions on how to fish it, it's very well written, very well put together. So if you get a chance, look for Tim's book. And once again, this is Fly Tying for Everyone. And we're going to tie one of the flies in here. And the fly that I'm going to tie is going to be the corn-fed caddis. And now we're going to do the corn-fed caddis. Now I'm going to change just one or two materials, and Tim talks about this in his book, that the only thing holding you back is your imagination. And I agree 100%. He talks about, he even has with each pattern, he has suggested material substitutes. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So the hook that I have in the vise is a number 14 standard dry fly hook, number 14, and I'm going to use this gray, it's actually a gray olive thread. This is Hemingway thread, size 8. We're going to start by putting a base of thread on the hook, and I'm going to put the base of thread all the way to the rear, and then I'm going to come back with it. And now we're going to put a shuck on first. This is more or less going to come out like an X caddis, but with Tim's personal variation of it. And here we want a piece of Zelon or something I'm going to use. This is actually the bootlace that I unbraided as a substitute. And if you watch my videos for any length of time, you know that I love the bootlace. And you can check into my materials playlist for how to get that bootlace. It is a video called Materials. But we're going to go ahead and tie this on. We're just going to get a couple wraps in forward. Size that. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller even. There we go. With a caddis shuck, you want it relatively sparse. You don't want it real thick. Relatively sparse is good. When you see a caddis shuck on the water, you'll see why I say that, because you can actually, the caddis shuck on the water, actually you get little brown tinges around the outside of that shuck, and then the inside is more or less clear. So, okay, we're going to do this according to his book. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a loop right here. Go across and then secure that. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut one of these sides out. Make sure that you don't cut them both. And I'm going to put that in my material clip, and that's going to be a rib. And again, the purpose of his book is to help bring you to the next level, and that is, you don't have to go by the pattern book. You can take those patterns and adjust them, which I do a real lot. So I'm going to put some hare's ear on here, and because hare's ear is dry, I'm going to go ahead and put some wax on my thread first. Just wax that up pretty good. Then I'm going to take some hare's ear. I'm going to take smaller amounts. I'm going to turn that over so I could have room to get my fingers in there and dub it close. And you can see I have it dubbed very thin at the top. And I'm going to make it a little thicker as I go towards the middle and the end. And this will give us a tapered body. And then one thing about the hare's ear material, you really can't use too much of it as long as you have a skinny noodle. It compresses pretty well if you go over, like putting a second round or a second noodle on it. It compresses pretty well. And like I always say, remember, you can always add more. Now I'm going to go ahead and wrap this, bring that back to the rear, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap this. And you see I have a pretty long noodle, and this is a short gap or a short shank hook, or it's standard, but it's kind of short. And you can see I can go over the material. You see how much, and I could make that taper by going over it. And you can see what just happened is I went over it and it's not real bulky. Now I'm going to take the rib. I always turn it so I can see, so I don't hit the point of the hook. And using this thread rib, it does two things. It's ribbing it, but it also is adding a little security from the trout's teeth for pulling the material out. We can go ahead and trim that off. And while I'm here, my tail looks just a little bit big, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that down about by half. There, it's not as thick now. Like I said, you don't need a real lot. And now the wing is going to be CDC. And this is a good opportunity to use those small CDC puffs. You can take one large CDC feather like that and draw it together and make your wing. But like I said, it's a good opportunity to use those small CDC puffs. So I'm going to put several of those puffs together. Just keep them the same size. Got one that's a little bit longer, but that's a small puff, so I'm going to just trim that a little bit. So I want this wing to go slightly into the tail, or the shuck. And we'll go ahead and secure that with about 3 or 4 wraps. There's another point also. You don't need to put 10 or 20 wraps on everything you tie in. Actually, the fewer wraps that you use, the better. I'm just going to clean that up there a little bit. And there goes 10 wraps. Now, in his book, Tim has a cider on there, something that's going to help you see it better. So what he used was he actually used a chartreuse wing post material. And here I'm going to use an orange one. And this could be, you want something that's going to resist the water because you want to keep it dry. So I'm going to fold it over and I'm going to bring it to it. So you need some kind of a polyester type material, Zelon, or the more polyesterish type material that's not going to absorb water. I'm going to go ahead and trim this, and I'm going to put it about half the length of the wing. That'll be a nice cider for us, and it's not going to be seen very much by the fish. Now, to finish this off, what we're going to do is we're going to make another loop. Take my dubbing whirl this time. And again, Tim talks about all of the tools, so he will give you an explanation of the dubbing whirl in the book. So we're going to take that. I'm going to put a little bit of wax on there. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put CDC inside the dubbing whirl, but we're not going to put all of that stem. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're only going to get the CDC in our clip, and then we're going to trim it off. So you could buy the one that's on the market, or you could make yourself one, and I made myself one. This is a chip clip, and this is just sticky back foam all piled up together, and then you cut a slot in it. I'm going to take that CDC feather and I'm going to place that stem right on the slot. So I place that stem right on the slot there. You can see, and then you take your bodkin needle and just push the stem down into the slice, and you don't want to go far. You can see on the back here how far I went, not even halfway. And then I'm going to take the clip and I'm going to grab that CDC, going to take that out, and I'm going to trim the stem off. Now I have the CDC in the clip. I'm taking my dubbing whirl, open the thread. See the thread open. Put the clip inside, and I'm going to slide the thread off, bring that to the spot I want, and then I'm going to twist my dubbing whirl. I held it and I twisted it, and then when I let go, it twisted it all. So now we have basically a CDC hackle, and it's not going to be nice and thick. It's not going to be thick. It's going to be nice and thin. We're going to give this a few wraps right here. Then I'm going to go ahead and wrap the whole thing. Now we'll just tie this off. Hold that back and put a couple of wraps on top of it. We'll go ahead and trim off our dubbing loop. Now I can form the head. And we're going to bring this back about the width of one eye width. And I got a couple of strays out front there, so you know what I do when I get strays. Take the flame, put the flame to it. Now I could go ahead and take my whip finish. Secure that, trim that thread. And the last thing that we're going to do is we'll take a piece of Velcro. I have that for a dubbing teaser, or this is a 22 bore brush. And we're just going to tease those materials out. That CDC that we just wrapped, we're going to tease that out. Because when you wrap it, it ties everything in. It gets the fibers stuck inside. Now, if you got some that are too long, you can just go ahead and break them off. Put a little bit of head cement on there. Clean that off pretty good. And here I can see this is a very good fly. This is going to be a very good caddis imitation, especially for faster water. Got that nice orange spot on there to help you see it, especially in the faster water. And it's going to look like a caddis that is struggling to get out of their shuck. Basically just like an ex-caddis, but there we have it. Please check out Tim Cammisa's book, Fly Tying for Everyone. Learn to tie the latest patterns that catch fish. They definitely will. He's going to give you a good insight into fly tying from beginner to advanced, more advanced tyer. I found several things in here that helps me. So check it out and have a good day.